Welcome all my peers of second grade primary school. That's our time for science, and today we'll start unit 2 which deal with heat conduction. اهلا بيهم كل مشاهدينا وكل طلابنا للصف الثالث الابتدائي لغات. النهارده ان شاء الله هنبدا unit 2 which deal with heat conduction اللي بتناقش موضوع مهم جدا بنسميه التوصيل الحراري. So today we will deal or we will explain a very important lesson about heat conduction. I know you have many information about this lesson from your previous study or about what's the difference between heat conductors and back conductors. So today let's study this topic in detail. ان شاء الله النهارده ندرس الموضوع بالتفصيل شويه عشان نعرف ايه الفرق بين heat conductors وكمان heat او bad heat conductor او good heat conductor. So today let's start our first question in this episode. اول سؤال في الحلقه بنطرحه عليكم بنقول why do we feel hot or coldness? Why do we feel hot or coldness؟ ليه بنحس ساعات بالبروده او بالحراره؟ Imagine that if you touch or if you called a very hot cup of tea. لو انت ماسك كوبايه شاي سخنه جدا you feel what? You feel hot. And otherwise if you catch or hold a cold juice or a cold ice or a cold cup of juice you feel cold. Why? What's the difference between them? Let me explain the difference between them in detail. Imagine that if you catch a very hot cat. شوف مع بعض the drawing. If you catch a hot cup of tea you feel hot. You feel hot. Why? Because heat transfer from what to what? From the cup to your hand. أعلى للجسم اللي حرارته أقل. طب حرارة الإنسان كام؟ We know it's 37 and the temperature of the hot cup of tea may be 70 for example or 80 and so on. So which one is higher? Sure 70. So heat transfer from what? Heat transfer from the higher temperature object to the lower temperature object. So what happens if you catch a cold cup of ice, called the cup of ice or ice juice? Otherwise you feel cold. Why? Because heat transfer from what to what? Your hand is 37 at all and the cold ice or the cold juice will be for example 15. So which one is higher? Sure, your hand here is higher. So heat transfer from what to what? From your hand to the cup of tea. عشان كده ممكن نقول حاجة مهمة جدا إن heat أو الحرارة heat energy الطاقة الحرارية is a form of energy that transfers تنتقل that transfer from higher temperature object to what? To the lower temperature object. To the lower temperature object. Okay? Again, to the lower temperature object. So again, what's meant by heat energy? It's a form of energy that transfer from higher temperature object to the lower temperature object even if you catch a very hot thing or a very cold thing. انا هنا ماليش دعوه انا ماسك ايه، انا بقول دايما الحراره تمشي منين لمنين؟ من الجسم اللي حرارته اعلى من الهاير تمبريتشر لللور تمبريتشر وات ايفر بقى مهما كان الجسم اللي ماسكه ده ايه. So now let's study this in details. Why do you feel hot again and why do you feel cold? Imagine that because heat transfer from what to what? From hot glass to your hand in the first case. في الحاله الاولى من الكوبايه السخنه من hot glass to your hand. Why? Because hot glass has high temperature. مين اللي حرارته أعلى؟ في الحالة الأولى كان هو الهوت glass to your hand. Your hand في الحالة الأولى كانت هي اللي حرارتها أقل. So what happens if you catch a very cold ice juice؟ ماسك كوباية عصير ساقعة شوية. You feel cold. You feel cold what? Because heat transfer from your hand to the cold glass. هنا بقى أنا الإيديا حرارتها أعلى للcold glass. يبقى دايما أقدر أقول له إن heat energy is a form of energy that transfer from the higher temperature object to the lower temperature object. وقلنا أكتر مرة بنحب أو الطالب الكرييتيف اللي ممكن يكتب definition من دماغه هو. أنا ممكن أقول definition بشكل تاني خالص. هقول heat is a form of energy that transfer from the hot body to the cold body. Again, heat is a form of energy that transfer from the hot body to the cold body. So now let's study the importance or the use of heat in our daily life. We use heat in many things or many purposes in our daily life, such as in our daily life warming the house تدفئة المنزل. Number 2 heating water تسخين المياه. And number 3 cooking طبخ طبعا شور أكيد بنستخدم فيه حرارة بشكل كبير جدا أو بكميات كبيرة جدا. Another purpose drying the water clothes تجفيف الملابس المغسولة. We use the sun heat or the heat of the sun to dry the water clothes. Also in industry في الصناعة بستخدم الهيت في حاجات كتيرة جدا such as processing food تصنيع الغذاء such as glass صناعة الزجاج برضه بتحتاج حرارة paper صناعة الورق كمان بتحتاج heat energy أو طاقة حرارية and textiles والأنسجة كمان بتحتاج heat energy for making the textiles or the cloth عشان نعمل القماش from the cotton or linen من القطن أو الكتان. So now what's meant by temperature؟ احنا درسنا كده تعريف heat energy. طب يعني ايه بقى temperature أو درجة الحرارة؟ ممكن نقول عليها تعريف حلو جدا. It's the degree of hotness or coldness of a body. It's the degree of hotness or coldness of a body. هي درجة سخونة أو برودة أي جسم. يبقى لازم نفرق بين تعريف heat energy وتعريف temperature. لازم أعرف الفرق كبير قوي بين two concepts. مفهومين مهمين جدا. Again, temperature is the degree of hotness or coldness of a body. But heat energy, again, as I said before, is a form of energy that transfer from higher temperature object to the lower temperature object. Again, temperature is different from heat energy. Temperature معناها درجة الحرارة whatever بقى كان الجسم ده درجة حرارته high يعني hot أو low يعني cold. Again, temperature is the degree of hotness or coldness of a body. So now, how can we measure temperature؟ ازاي نقيس الحرارة؟ By a very important tool بأداة مهمة جدا which is called thermometer. Again, temperature is measured by thermometer and I know or I'm sure all of you know the thermometer and know how to use it, and in the next lesson, inshallah, God willing, next week we will study in details the structure of the thermometer and the main idea of it and the two type of thermometer. ان شاء الله الحلقه الجايه هندرس بالتفصيل انواع الثرمومتر وازاي نستخدمها وازاي اتعملت اصلا او ايه هي فكره عملها. The main idea of the thermometer. So again, temperature is measured by thermometer. So now let us have an activity and very important activity. And after we explain this activity, we will see a short video about that activity. إن شاء الله هنعمل activity دلوقتي مع بعض ونشوف بعد شوية فيديو قصير قوي عن how can we differentiate between good conductors of heat and bad conductors of heat. The activity says that stick a button on a ruler, spoon and a pencil. هنا ممكن بدل استخدم ال 3 materials دول هستخدم 3 spoons 3 معالق، واحدة منهم metal and the other is plastic and the last one is wood. And stick a button on each of them. هلزق زرار by wax عن طريق الشمع on each one of them and put them in a container using the clay. وهثبتهم في container، حتى كمان ممكن اثبتهم بالكلي او مش لازم تثبيت. Number 2, pour hot water, very hot boiled water in the container to be half filled. And we will see a very important observation. هنشوف ملاحظة مهمة جدا. What will we see? We see that the button falls first. الزرار هيقع مبدئيا أو في الأول from what spoon? From the metallic spoon. Why? Because it's a good conductor of heat that transfers or allows heat to transfer to it quickly. يعني معنى كده ان انا عندي 3 material wood plastic metal، مين فيهم هيسخن اسرع؟ هو طبعا الميتال لان ده اللي هنسميه good conductor of heat، لكن البلاستيك او الوود هنسميهم bad conductor of heat لانهم ما بيسخنوش بسرعه او بيرفضوا الحراره انها تمشي فيهم بشكل سريع. So again we can divide materials into two types which are good conductors and bad conductors. So our observation now is that the button falls from the metallic spoon. The button falls from the metallic spoon at first. So the conclusion is that different materials differ in conducting heat such as aluminum, wood or plastic. So now let us see a very important activity about that, okay? Now we will see a very important short video about how to see the difference between conductors and bad conductors. So now we have 3 spoons as you can see. We have 3 spoons from plastic and metal and the last one is wood. We have 3 spoons, plastic, metal and wood. And we will stick a button هنلزق زرار by wax on each one of them, okay? And pour very hot water to see which one conducts heat faster. هنا هلزق زرار عليهم عشان اشوف مين فيهم اللي هيوصل حرارة اسرع، okay? Okay, so here I have 3 spoons. One is metal, as you see, and the other is plastic, and the last one is wood. And I will stick a button in each one of them. هنلزق زرار على كل واحدة منهم by wax like that. Okay, to see which one conducts heat faster. To see which one conducts heat fast. And we will pour very hot water. هنصب مية سخنة جدا to see which one will be hot or will be hotter than the others. Okay, stick a button on each one of them. This experiment shows me the difference between conductors and bad conductors. Again, this experiment shows me the difference between good conductors and bad conductors of heat. So now we will pour very hot water to see which one gets hot at first. Okay. We pour very hot water, boiled water, but carefully. Please, if you want to do this experiment at home, you can do it under the supervision of your parents, not without yourself only, because hot water may be dangerous at sometimes. Okay? So here we can see that the metallic spoon here, the metallic spoon, is the first spoon to fold the button. Look here, it gets hotter and the wax melt. هو ليه الزرار هيقع؟ عشان الواكس هيحصل له melting أو الشمع هيحصل له انصهار فهيوقع الزرار. أتعلم الكلام ده حاجة مهمة جدا إن الميتال أو أو بعض الماتيريالز هنسميها good conductors of heat. Good conductor of heat. So now let us complete our lesson about the main difference between conductors and bad conductors. So now we have explained or we have learned that materials we can divide them into two types, which are conductors and bad conductors. So I can explain or I can summarize what I have did in that materials are classified into two types, which are good conductors of heat, and also bad conductors of heat. If I want you to make a definition for each one of them. طبعا كتير قوي اول ما اقول كلمه definition طلبه كتير يتضايقوا مننا يا مستر مش بنحب نحفظ كتير ويا ريت يكون الساينس ما فيهوش definition كتير. اوكي انا بحب قوي الطالب دايما اللي يكون كرييتيف ويكتب definition من دماغه هو شخصيا. طب لو عايز اعمل definition لكلمه good conductors I can say they are materials هقدر اقول كده they are materials هي المواد that allow اللي بتسمح allow heat to transfer بتسمح تعدي منها الحرارة عشان كده تسخن جدا allow heat to transfer. So what about bad conductors? I can say they are materials that طبعا definition سهل جدا هقول بس النيجاتيف بتاعه او don't allow heat to transfer ما بتسمحش انها تعدي الحرارة منها. So I can say the difference between good conductors and bad conductors is that good conductors allow heat to transfer through, but bad conductors don't allow heat to transfer through. So we can say all metals كل المعادن مش كل المواد all metals are good conductor of heat. So all metals are good conductors as I said, but all of them conduct heat with the same degree. يعني هل كل المعادن بتوصل حرارة بنفس الدرجة؟ Imagine that you have in the previous experiment في التجربة اللي عملناها من شوية 3 spoon. One of them is metal from iron and the other is copper and the last one is aluminum. So I have 3 metal. All of them are good conductors. Which one will conduct heat faster? We will find that copper. Copper is the best metal in conducting heat. يبقى لو عايز اعمل comparison في الميتال نفسها اللي هي كلها good conductor هلاقي ان اكتر معدن بيوصل الحرارة هو الكوبر. So I can say copper is the best conducting heat material. So I have another activity now. We can see it. Put four different roots of different materials in a beaker containing hot water. هنا هستخدم 4 معادن بس كلهم metals وكلهم good conductor. وهستخدم نفس experiment. Put the beaker on the flame after a while. Touch by please carefully. لما يكون في تجارب فيها بليز حراره او حتى كهرباء يبقى بحرص جدا احنا بنعملها وكمان يا ريت يبقى تحت اشراف زي ما قلت من شويه our parents or our teacher at school تكون تحت اشراف مدرسين او ابائنا في البيت. After a while touch each end of them and you will find that iron or aluminium will get hot. But which one is faster? Sure, iron will be faster than aluminum, and if I have copper, copper will be faster than them. So now our conclusion is that materials are divided into two types, which are good conductors of heat, and you can say conductors, and bad conductor of heat, and we can say insulators او المواد العازله. مع ان التسميه مش دقيقه قوي لان مفيش ماده عازله تماما للحراره، لكن بنقول ماده يعني عازله او رديئه توصيل الحراره، لكن التسميه الادق هي ان انا اقول bad conductor of heat. So I can say all materials are divided into types which are good conductors and bad conductors. Good conductors of heat and bad conductors of heat. So if I want you to make a definition, لو عايز اعمل definition لكلمه good conductor, I can say they are the materials that conduct heat and let heat flow through. هي المواد اللي بتوصل الحراره بتسمح بمرور الحراره داخلها. and let heat flow through. flow through معناها تسري من خلالها. So what about bad conductor of heat? Or example, sorry. Before we say what's meant by bad conductor, I can give you some examples of good conductors. Iron, aluminum, copper, gold, silver, and in brief ممكن باختصار اقول all metals. كل المعادن. حتى في كمان ميتال وحيد هو الليكويد اللي هو الميركوري، ان شاء الله هنتكلم عنه in details المره الجايه لما ناخد الثرمومتر، برضه هو كمان هيكون good conductor of heat. So again we can say good conductor of heat, they are material that allow heat to flow through or that conduct heat and let heat flow through. And we have many examples of metal or of good conductors such as iron, copper, aluminum, and so on. So what about bad conductor of heat? هنا التعريف هو الأوبوزيت، هو عكس التعريف اللي فات بالظبط. هقول are material that don't conduct heat and don't let heat flow through. هي المواد اللي ما بتسمحش بتوصيل الحرارة أو ما بتسمحش بمرور الحرارة في داخلها. Such as what? Such as wood, glass, plastic, paper, air, and so on. Again, wood, glass, plastic, paper, air, wool. كمان الصوب بنعتبره bad conductor. So now let us have a very important life application. طبعا واحد يقول لي الدرس النهارده حاسس ان هو يعني سهل قوي ومش بنفس مستوى برايمري 6، لكن هناخد فيه حاجه اسمها لايف ابلكيشن مهمه قوي قوي عشان نفهم ليه خدنا الدرس ده في برايمري 6. احنا خدناه فعلا في برايمري 4 بس هنتكلم عنه في برايمري 6 in more details. This life application says that in very cold countries في الدول البارده جدا such as North Europe زي شمال اوروبا windows are made in double sheet window. Look here, the window in North Europe is made like that with double sheet glass. يعني هناك الشباك ما بيكونش فيه one sheet of glass، لا في two sheets of glass، يعني فيه لوحين من الازاز مش لوح واحد بس. طب ليه؟ because with air space كمان between them وكمان بينهم فراغ هواء to ensure preventing leakage of it، عشان يضمن او يتاكد انه بيمنع تسرب الحراره. احنا عارفين كويس قوي الدول دي very cold حرارتها بارده جدا، فممكن جدا يكون الحراره هناك sub zero temperature يعني تحت الصفر. طب هيحصل ايه؟ ممكن يحصل تجمد للناس وممكن ده يؤدي للوفاه. طب نعمل ايه عشان نضمن يكون في تدفئه الى حد كبير؟ we make the window in double glass sheet window. Why? Because here هنا انا عندي كام ماده bad conductor. I have one glass and air between the other glass and glass again. يعني عندي three material which are bad conductors. So I can say because glass and air are bad conductors of heat, we use them in the cold countries to ensure preventing leakage of heat. طب دايما السؤال ده ممكن يجي لنا في الجيف ريزون. طب نجاوب عنه ازاي؟ ناخد مع بعض كده جيف ريزون للسؤال ده. نكتب مع بعض جيف ريزون. اوكي، جيف ريزون in cold countries في الدول الباردة in cold countries windows are made of double glass sheet window. Why? Because as I said before, because glass and wood are bad, or glass and air and also wood. Glass, air and wood are bad conductors of heat. Okay? Or I have another answer. I can say because or to prevent عشان تمنع to prevent leakage of heat، تمنع تسرب الحرارة. So now I think I don't have much time to complete our lesson today, but in brief, we will explain the rest of the lesson. So again, in cold countries, we make the window in double glass sheet because they are back conductor to prevent leakage of heat. So now, another application or another information in our lesson today, which metal is the best metal in conducting heat? Sure, copper is the best metal. Or the last live application today, we have a picture of that. Look here, that's the railway track. ايه ديت؟ دي قضبان السكة الحديدية. We observe or we notice in them there are gaps، بيكون في فجوات كده بينها او فراغات صغيرة. طبعا فراغات يعني تقريبا ما بتعداش 2 او 3 مللي او حاجة زي كده، 4 ملم ماكسيمم يعني. طب ايه الهدف منها؟ ليه ما خلوش التراك او الريلوي تراك كله حته واحده او وان بيس؟ الهدف منها ان يكون في فرصه ان يحصل للايرن اكسباندنج، لان الايرن بيحصل له اكسباندنج ماي هيت، فده ممكن يعمل بيندنج او انحناء. يعني فور اكزامبل لو ده التراك لازم يكون في سبيس بينهم. طب ليه؟ اصل السبيس ده هيخلي لما يكون في حراره عاليه يحصل اكسباند، لكن لو مفيش السبيس ده هيحصل بيندنج او تويستنج او باكلينج انحناء، وده ممكن يسبب اكسيدنت. ده برضو مكان سؤال حلو جدا في give reason. سؤال بيقول لي give reason railway tracks have spaces between them. Let me write this question in quickly. Give reason railway tracks have spaces between them. Why? هقول له because iron، لأن الأيرن بيحصل له expanding because iron expands by heat، and to prevent عشان يمنع to prevent، في كلمة من ثلاثة بنفس المعنى كلهم. to prevent buckling معناها انحناء buckling، or bending برضه معناها انحناء، or twisting. طبعا كفاية أوي اكتب كلمة واحدة منهم in your answer and that will be sufficient. So again, in this live application, we will find in the railway track have spaces or gaps between them. Why? To prevent buckling or bending and thus prevent or avoid accident. وهكذا هيتجنب الحوادث. So now I have many pictures for them. Let us see them now. Look here. This the track has space between them. Why? To prevent bending or to prevent twisting or to prevent buckling، عشان يسمح الحديد ان يحصل له اكسباند. لان ان شاء الله المره الجايه هنتكلم عن ان معظم الميتال او كل الميتال تحديدا اكسباند باي هيت، بتتمدد بالحراره. طب ليه بسيب السبيس ده؟ عشان بديها فرصه to have chance to expand and don't bend، وكمان ما يحصلهاش انحناء، لانه حصل انحناء ده ممكن يسبب اكسيدنت للقطارات او يسبب حوادث للقطارات. وده نفس الكلام بيحصل كمان في البريدجز او الكباري، كمان بنسيب سبيسز او بنسيب حاجه بيسموها فواصل معدنيه او ميتاليك سيباريتورز. الهدف منها برضو انها تمنع البندنج او الانحناء عشان يحصل اكسباند للحديد. الحديد بيتمدد اوريدي بالحراره، فاديله فرصه يتمدد براحته بقى، ما يعمليش اي حوادث بعد كده. So again we leave spaces or gaps between railway tracks or between bridges or between the frame of bridges. Why? To prevent buckling or bending or to prevent twisting. So now let us have the last point on our lesson today. آخر نقطة في درسنا النهاردة the use of good conductor and also the use of bad conductor. We use the good conductor in what? Sure, in cooking pots and tea boiler. كل good conductor زي الألمنيوم، copper, nickel for example في بعض الأوقات, and iron and stainless steel. All of them are used in cooking pots and tea boiler. Give reason because they are good conductor of it. طبعا سؤال سهل جدا لو جالنا في give reason بيقول لي ليه بستخدم الألمنيوم in tea boiler and cooking pots? Because they are good conductors of heat. And iron is used in cooking pots and tea boiler, and also copper also is used in cooking pots and tea boiler. All of them are good conductor of heat. So what about the stainless steel? Also is used as them in cooking pots and tea boiler. يبقى كل الجود كوندكتور هستخدمهم في الكوكينج بوتس وكمان التي بولر يعني براد الشاي او غلاية الشاي. So what about the use of bad conductors? Bad conductors such as what? Such as plastic and wood. We use them in making handles of cooking pots and tea boiler and also utensils. يبقى بستخدم البلاستيك او الخشب في صناعة مقبض او يد الاواني الطهي او الحلل او الكاتلز عشان هو bad conductor عشان ما يسببش ارتفاع حرارة للإنسان أو ما يسببش حوادث للإنسان. يبقى لو قال لي في سؤال give reason we use wood or plastic in making handles of cooking pots because they are bad conductor of heat. Because they are bad conductor of heat. Also the wool كمان الصوف بستخدمه في making heavy clothes and blankets because also it's a bad conductor of heat. So now by this point we have reached the end of this episode, so I'm afraid to leave you now and promise you to meet again next Thursday inshallah to have the next lesson or lesson 2 in unit 2 which deal with the thermometers and measuring temperature. So now thank you and goodbye.